Hello, this is Dread from Apprentice's Corner. In today's video topic, I am going to be changing the video format here. We're going to do two videos per build from now on. One video when I reach Monolith, Monolith of Fate, and do my first arena run. And then one video on when I'm finished with the build in its entirety and ready to move on so that you guys can kind of see the process of what it's like for day one versus like day four. Now, why I'm doing this is because, for instance, with this build, I'm going to be playing it for a longer time than most builds, thanks to the Vision Tourney. And people were suggesting that I should play my builds just a little bit longer than normal, which I'm okay with. But with this format, it allows me to focus on the build a lot more than of course making one video and moving on. So, what build were we doing? We're doing Serpent Strike Beastmaster. So this is for the Vision SSF tourney, but we're required to play Beastmaster and Maelstrom. So pretty much, I'm just reviving my old Serpent Strike Beastmaster. But this time around, it's actually a lot better because, of course, with the defensive changes, Beastmaster is definitely one of the ones that got out scot-free with it. It actually got buffed significantly with in significant ways, which I'll show later. But Beastmaster is positioned really well in the meta right now, and Surf and Strike is positioned well as well because it's not entirely melee. It's like kind of like it has that reach, so it kind of has that advantage in arena as well. I did manage to get number one on the arena day one. I was 130 on my arena waves, and then of course I went to sleep and got kicked out. But of course, that's how it always works with these tourneys. Like I go to sleep, guess what? I got to catch up. But I plan on trying to get as high as possible in the tourney with this build, so you guys will have the best build overall. But the build itself is very fun, very SSF friendly. It scales its own damage within the skill, so you do not have to run any damage on your gear. You just simply need melee attack speed from other sources. I would heavily suggest running wing guards, obviously, which I'll be getting to as well, hopefully when I gamble it. But wing guards definitely is one of the best in slots in the build. But other than that, there's not really anything else damage wise you need because Surf and Strike scales its own damage now. So let's talk about the skills, shall we? All right, so this is MSBM underscore BDSM. If you don't know, this is the naming for the Vision tournament. The MSBM is Maelstrom Beastmaster. That's obviously how we track our ladder ranking. So where is it? You go down here, it'll be like all the way down here, I think. Yeah, MSBM right here. So if you type it in the ladder, it will just show that. So that's how we've been doing it for the tourneys. And of course, BDSM, because I was asking what the tag was for this race, and everyone kept saying BDSM. I was like, whatever, MSBM, BDSM, of course. So this is Surf and Strike Beastmaster. We are using Surf and Strike. This is the crowning jewel of the build. So this is much different than most Surf and Strike specs because I've been experimenting. So, mainly something I did not know last time at all is apparently you are granted increased damage over time for 4 seconds when you use Surf and Strike, and you're granted increased poison damage for 4 seconds when you use Surf and Strike. This is very important for scaling your own damage because apparently I did not know this stacks. So, for instance, the faster we attack, as you can tell, our damage is going up and up and up and up. Yeah, I didn't know that. So if we have all of our buffs up here, which I will set up here, our poison damage gets to a whopping 800 per poison. And of course, they pen for themselves as well, which is very strong. So obviously, these two nodes are strong. Then, of course, we have the poison spit. If you didn't know, it's kind of like a projectile, like, poisons from a distance. It also works really well with Aspect of the Viper because it's global poison, so I believe it works for this. I don't know if this actually gets the poison as well, but it does poison on hit. So at the very least, it's 100% increased poison for the serpent, like the little poison spit. Of course, we have 6 points into Nagasa Venom for the poison chance because didn't know Serpent Strike started out with 140% increased poison chance, so this brings it up to 2 poisons. So we're always at least inflicting 2 poisons per hit. Then Aspect of the Viper brings it up to like 4 poisons per hit. All right, thank you, phone. And then of course we have. All right, I should actually turn this off so I don't kill myself. I'll explain that in a second. Uh, and of course, 2 points into Plague Bear. This doesn't really matter. It does give us a little bit of AoE technically, but Plague Bear is kind of like one of the worst things in the game right now, so it's not really the best. And of course, we go for Scorpion Strikes. That's pretty much it for Serpent Strike. For the last few points, I'm unsure of what I want to do. Probably one node into attack speed. The dodge rating is nice, but I do believe that going on, this is the better way of scaling Serpent Strike because I can scale dodge on gear. I don't need to run it on my attacks, and it'll make it so that I'm tanky without having to attack. And this makes it so my Serpent Strike does a lot of damage, which is what I want. Now, of course, we have the next skill. We have Maelstrom. Next more important thing. So we have Maelstrom on autocast. We get the stack duration, dodge rating per Maelstrom stack, pretty good. Mana efficiency, so we're not sucking up our mana too fast. 2 points travel, so you can get to Sudden Gale for the instant cast. And of course, chill chance per second. This is all over chill. It's really strong. And of course, we get the healing per second. This is per stack, by the way. So for instance, if you have 6 stacks, you'll gain 36 per second if you didn't know that. And of course, 1 point into Power of the Storm so that we can cast lightning. It's really good because so when we use Aspect of the Viper, I'll show you later, it gives us like global poison chance. So any way we can get extra hits is very good. So this is very strong, or especially for single target. Same thing with the lightning from Tornado. I do need to do that eventually. Now, of course, let's talk about Tornado here. Tornado is 3 points travel, 4 points travel, 1 point travel into Snap Gale. So it's instant cast so that while we're moving around, it does not mess up our movement. Very, very important, as you'll see later. And of course, we have Aspect of the Storm. It gives us 10% movement speed for 2 seconds, which will be bumped up to 4 seconds overall with our last point here. 4 points into mana efficiency and mana regen so that it's not so disgusting on our mana pool. And of course, 21% increased attack speed, the more important modifier, but the movement speed is nice. And that's pretty much it for Tornado. So while we're casting all of our other spells, we're going to be at 0 mana. So if you just hold down the button now, this has been changed. If you just hold down the button now, it will prefer to use Tornado first before Maelstrom. So, for instance, you don't need 6 stacks of Maelstrom with this build automatically because we're not running the Frenzy or the Haste on it. So, you can go down to 5 stacks of Maelstrom to kind of fit in a Tornado. So, you can have 100% uptime on Tornado now with that, which is really nice because this build's always going to be at 0 mana. Then, of course, our next skill. So, this is very important as they've definitely changed Ice Thorns. So, this before the defenses changed, this node used to only give poison res, but now we get crit strike avoidance instead of poison res. So you can actually cap your critical strike avoidance with this one node. So what we do is we grab the 0 cost while we're equipped with the two-hander, which are spear counts, 1 point of travel, into Ice Thorn Shield, 4 points into the recast chance, so that whenever it expires, sometimes we get more. And of course, instant cast and 4 second cooldown. But of course, then we get the 300% increased cooldown recovery speed and the Thorn Shield crit strike avoidance. And of course, we take 2 points into here, and I think 3 points into here, and then 3 points into the duration. So our Ice Thorn Shield lasts 2 seconds. Why is this important? So if I put our Ice Thorns on autocast here, hopefully it doesn't kill me while we're doing this. I am very close to about almost 100% critical strike avoidance. You could get away with just running this. Now, obviously, if you're smart, I would run 10% critical strike avoidance, so we're kind of always at like 100%. But with the blessing, you should be at 100% all the time. But obviously, this is good enough in my opinion. Very, very sure. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'll explain why we're dying in a second here. Then for our last node, we have Summon Frenzy Totem. This was kind of fixed few patches ago. So we're going to take 4 points into Frenzy effects. We get 20, I think it's about 20 8% increased attack speed. Yeah, 28% increased attack speed. 1 point into health regen. This doesn't matter. Then, of course, we go for the global poison chance. 4 points of travel. It reduces the mana cost, which is good. Then 100% increased damage while tethered. This is very important. So, this little tether thing, this range, you see that? As long as I'm within this area, I get the 100% increased damage. Very strong because it allows us to scale our damage without having to run damage on gear. And of course, we have 5 points into reinforced totem, so our totem survives. Another little note, people ask me, how am I keeping my frenzy totem alive? Well, if we run these 5 points into more health and duration, and then we run healing winds, which heals everything around me, by the way, my frenzy totem lasts a lot longer than most people's, hence why I do that. Now, that's pretty much it for skills. We're going to talk about the skill tree here. So we do have 6 points into health, 8 points into strength and health regen. If you didn't know, strength does give me 4% increased damage. So obviously, I would eventually like to run dex stacking. Dex stacking is very strong with Serpent Strike because you get like 4% poison chance. So for instance, if you have like 10% poison chance, 10 dex, you're already at like, I think it's 40% chance to poison. So dex stacking is definitely the way to go with Serpent Strike now. I'm just I don't know if that'll be good or not because deck stacking's normally pretty bad. We'll have to look into it. Like I said, once I get the finished product out, I'll see if that's worth it or not. And of course, we have 1 point for travel here, then 5 points into the HP. Probably we'll put the last point in here later on because it gives us flat health. If you did not know, with the advent of the resistance changes, health is very strong now. Obviously, my gear is terrible right now. It's just how the races go, the SSF races. And of course, we have 5 points into Shaman to bring up our Tornado. I believe we might be moving 1 point into Silent Protector so we can move to Totemic Fury. We might be putting that so that when we put down our Frenzy Totem, we get even more attack speed. Because as you could tell, because of the way our damage works, our damage stacking works, the more attack speed we get, the faster we get up to that like max damage, and of course more damage, obviously, right? So more attack speed, the better, right? Now for Beastmaster itself, we're running 8 points into Earth Sign Strength. This is one of the buffs I was talking about. Damage taken from nearby enemies minus 16%. We're usually nearby enemies. I don't know how nearby you have to be for this buff to work, but I'm assuming it's kind of this area around the the dummy. So that's what I'm assuming. If I'm wrong, please tell me. Like I said, it's pretty strong. Just damage reduction, and that's on top of the 30% that we get from a multiplicative with the 30% we get from aspect of the boar. Very, very strong. So we get aspect of the boar, duration, and aspect of the boar on hit. 12% is plenty. And of course, 5 points into the flat HP here. 5 points into the melee poison chance, and gives us poison res as well. I have 3 points into Hawkwing, so our what is it called? Our Ice Thorns will keep up our haste while doing stuff. But I think I might put in a few more points in here. I'm very unsure about that. And of course, we're going to be maxing out Life in the Wilderness because if you did not know, Vitality grants 10%, 10 health, and 2% increased health regen per point now. Very strong. Then 10 points in Aspect of the Viper for the attack speed and for the 100% uptime on Aspect of the Viper. And of course, 100% so that we get increased poison effect granted. This is important because Aspect of the Viper is granting us this increased poison effect so that if we have increased effect of Aspect of the Viper idols, this will increase this number, as you'll see in a bit. Let's go to gearing. And talking about increased effective aspect of the Viper idols, we have 4 of them. So I have about 20% each, like about 20% each. So you have 80% increased aspect of the Viper effect, meaning that 100% increased poison chance on hit, that's 180% poison chance on hit, then the 180% increased damage over time. And of course, we get 80% of that 50% added as well because it is part of the aspect of the Viper effect. This is very important. It works for Boar effect as well, for bleed chance from Boar. If you have Boar effect and bleeding effectiveness, this works with Boar effect as well. This works for all of the aspects. Now, why this is important is because that 50% increased poison effect is more damage because we have no other sources of it anywhere else. So, for instance, we have 80% of 50. That would be about, I think it's like, we'd be at 90% poison effect granted. So, we're doubling our poison effect. So, as I can show you here, you can see our poison damage here. Let's make sure we have aspect of the Viper. We go from like 80 poison damage to 200 whatever. It's very, very, very strong. So that's why we're running aspect of the Viper idols. With all of this, we don't need to skill any damage on gear, pretty much, other than our weapon, which allows us to run everything else we need to run. So for gear, we're running a Bleeding Heart. Why is this important? Well, so there's no such thing as poison leech, right? In last epic, you can leech from your poisons, leech from your damage over time, i.e., our poisons, but you have to be running global leech or the same kind of leech. Like, for instance, if there was a node that said poison leech, I could run that. But now with Bleeding Heart, it says 5.8% of damage leeches health. That is all damage, including everything I do, including the poisons, which is very good for us because we need it. Because Leech is very strong and very strong with this build, thanks to the fact that we're putting poisons on the enemy, and there's no cap to your Leech as well. So you can just keep going. It's really nice. Obviously, it stops when you reach 100% though. But Bleeding Heart, one of the best uniques in the game right now, thanks to the fact that Leech is very important right now, thanks to the fact that you have to actually stack health now. So yeah. All of our other gear is completely useless, but I will be including a Tunk Labs link, right? A Tunk Labs link with all the gear in the description. If I don't put it there, yell at me till I do. And of course, our weapon obviously is the most important thing. This is a very strong weapon. I'm wanting to put frailty somewhere else so that we can put something like poison chance there instead. That would be the best upgrade. But other than that, this is pretty much our best in slot weapon. With that being said, we do require one more unique. I would require, well, not require, but it would be really nice if we could get a good pair of wing guards, because since we're not critting, we don't care about that. So I would rather put wing guards in this slot. With that being said, guys, I believe that's it. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.